there was a time when there was no label attached to the writing of writers from this region. But then it changed. And, well, it changed for many reasons. Not only because we produced 3 Nobel laureates in literature. So the outside world wants to know more about the Caribbean. And our writers are producing to meet that demand. The Caribbean writers are producing to meet that demand. Welcome to Oral Tradition and another adventure in Guyanese literature. Let's also welcome a writer, Guyanese writer living in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
I gotta remember I said TT, Trinidad and Tobago. And who has, to her credit, 4 novels, 4 books, 3 novels,
3 novels.
and a narrative, right? Fortunate Disaster, A Rainbow in the North, Castles in the Sky, and Lone Survivor. Geeta, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Petamber.
Romance
Yes. And drama.
and drama
Yes.
and suspense,
And suspense. Yeah.
a little of everything.
Yes.
Interesting story. One of the first romance novel for the Caribbean, TT and Guyana was published in 1917. 1917. Those That Be in Bondage by A.R.F. Weber. He was born in Tobago.
Okay.
He came to live in Guyana where he died and he was buried in Guyana. But that's one of the first romance novel. Not many, but we love, hate, lust. Those are themes that we dabble with. Man-woman relationship. And of course we'll talk about it because these novels, the 3 novels, are romance.
Yes, they are.
Funny. Or is a silly question. What attracted you to romance?
I can't answer that truthfully, except that I can say my first book was a dream, an actual dream, and it was a romance dream. It was a romance story.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I started writing on the whole. And my niche is romance, drama, and suspense.
Mm-hmm.
It comes naturally.
A drama queen.
No, I'm not a drama queen. I'm not a drama queen because I have romance, I have adventure, lots of adventure.
Tell us about this first novel, Fortunate Disaster. Why you set it in India? Well, mainly in India.
Yes, because growing up in Guyana, we are rooted in our Indian culture.
Mm.
Every day we go to the cinema to watch Indian movie. That's how we grew up in Guyana. So we are well rooted in our Indian culture.
Music.
And music, of course. Yes, music. I love Indian music also. And I think that is how, in my subconsciousness, there is always this longing for more of my culture. And that's how maybe this dream came about, that I dreamt an entire story, and I wrote a novel out of it.
Well, good for dreams. Good for dreams. I must start dreaming. I must
Yes.
start writing. Tell
Yes.
us about it. Tell us about Give us an outline of Fortunate Disaster.
Okay.
Just bearing in mind, come May 5, we celebrate an Indian Arrival Day in Guyana. What day it is celebrated in Trinidad?
30th.
The 30th.
30th of May.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your
Okay.
fortunate disaster.
Okay. So I would like to read from the synopsis,
Yeah, go ahead.
just briefly. So in the monsoon season of 1995, childhood sweethearts Raoul and Smita were separated by horrendous floods that devastated the village of Darbhanga in Bihar, India. The hands of fate took them to two different parts of the world, where they lived and fulfilled their dreams. Over the years, they searched for each other without success. Then one day, 15 years after, they finally met face to face. Smita was the attending ER doctor when Raoul was brought into the hospital after a train accident. Smita was elated at finding her long-lost love, but he did not recognize her. Would it make a difference when his amnesia passed? Can their love be rekindled after all those years?
Yeah. Talking about romance, you seem to be in love with nature.
Yes, yes, I am.
Lots of description.
Yes.
Beautiful, detailed description. I wonder if you can pull out one of that piece of description and talk about it.
From Fortunate or
Yeah,
anyone?
Or anyone.
Okay, then I'll take that one from Castles in the Sky. So, Castles in the Sky, it is about this person who is seeking adventure. The protagonist in this book, he is seeking adventure while struggling with a marriage, with a really bad marriage.
A marriage gone wrong.
A marriage gone wrong.
Yeah.
So this is a trip that he took into the Rupununi Savannah, into the interior, actually. So they drove for the entire day. The weather was great, except for a few sprinkles along the way. The month of August was actually like that, dry and breezy, with just a sprinkle where the humidity had built. There was something in the air around that time of year that nudged at the adventure of an audacious soul. Sunset brought him to the heart of the Rupununi Savannah, a majestic place richly impregnated with flora and fauna. The last ray of sunshine disappeared behind the southwesterly mountain range, just as they were setting up camp. A feeling of wild freedom gripped Ravi. He felt like stripping naked and running wild. He restrained himself, lest his companions should think he was having a mental breakdown. But they too were feeling the independence offered in this untouched land that man was yet to discover.
Yeah.
His stride had a different kind of boldness as they moved about. Like professional cowboys, they helped themselves to baked beans and coffee. Maybe they would tell bonfire stories or tall tales from the wild, wild west. Suddenly, Ravi was distracted by the skyline, by the change in the skyline. The colors in the northeasterly range over the Pacaraimaz Mountains began to change from intense darkness to a soft glow of fire in the sky. Fellas, do we have a full moon tonight? His questions was answered before his companions could tell. The first arch of the huge ball peeped over the mountain, as if to make sure it was safe to venture. All clear, the huge orange ball began to chase the darkness away, leaving in its wake a silvery brightness that bathed the open plain in a natural scenic beauty, a poetic's paradise on a romantic night.
Yeah.
I could continue, but we will be out of time.
No. We have to cut that love story a bit short.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the other books, right? And then we'll talk about the themes and your pet peeves and things like that. But you want to talk about that, Rainbow in the North, yeah,
Lone Survivor.
The Lone Survivor, and we have Rainbow in the North also.
Yeah. Well, Lone Survivor is very touching to me because it is based on actual events. Not quite as it tells in this book, but the trials of fishermen, of fisher folks, and growing up in a fishing family and enduring those type of anxiety. This book has touched and pulled at a string.
Yeah, it's dedicated to fisher folks and the folks that waiting for them at home.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. It is really sad for me, but then there's a lot of adventure in it also. Yeah.
Yeah, there's adventure, conflict, because it's man against nature, and nature you wouldn't believe how destructive water can be.
Yes, and along the way, man against man, because the trawler never looked back to help. Well, that's part of the story I just leaked.
Well, it's in public domain already.
It is in the public domain. Yeah. So, but I could give the brief synopsis.
Yes.
I would not give the story, but I'll give the brief synopsis of it. So Captain Jack decided to make one last fishing trip before the end of the year for the sake of 3 young men that needed some extra cash for the Christmas season. No one could have imagined what unfolded on that treacherous waters of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
No one was prepared for that sort of news.
I've seen documentary of and other stories about fishing folks, and I used to say to myself, you shouldn't bargain with these people when you go into the market.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
And the same goes for farming.
Farmers.
Yes.
Yes.
You
I
shouldn't
totally
bargain
agree.
with people.
Yes. Very hard work.
Very. It
And
is.
these are the people that
treacherous,
feed us.
dangerous. Yes. Yeah. And then we want to go and bargain. I mean, many a times they put their lives on the line.
Yes.
Literally put their lives on the line.
Yes. Yes. I agree totally.
Yep. All right. And the other one, which is the other one? A Rainbow in the North?
Yes.
Yep.
So, Rainbow in the North. Having lived in Trinidad for so long and follow Trinidad current affairs, I noticed that the government of the day was encouraging trades from India to Trinidad. And then suddenly this idea came to me about what if this girl came to Trinidad? What reason would this girl have to come to Trinidad? And then this story just started to unfold. It started to unfold. So it was in the year of 2012 when Ranu left India in the hope of finding safety from Devan and his gang. However, her sanctuary was disrupted when she found out that the rapist had followed her to Trinidad and Tobago. Ranu's only refuge was her next-door neighbor, Rajesh. But Rajesh had some trouble of his own. Would his psychotic ex-wife allow him to pursue the happiness he deserves? Or would Amanda equally sick old flame Vikash dissuade her from her hell-bent revenge?